It's March 22nd, 2024. I am at Joel Pearl, and it's time to get in the weeds. My apologies for the late start. That's on me. Let me tell you a quick story. I set up the StreamYard, which is how we this is how we do the show, via StreamYard. Jeremy comes on, I click add to stage. Joel comes on, I click add to stage. Whatever happened in between clicking those two buttons, everything went haywire. So I had to restart my computer. I'm sorry, we're here. We're going to get through it as we always do when it's Friday, and there's plenty to talk about. Jeremy Lambert is here. How are you?
Good.
Wonderful. Timothy Thatcher joins us at 10:30 a.m. We're looking forward to that. Going to talk MLW War Chamber, his match against Matt Riddle next Friday at War Chamber, and a whole lot more. Have anything else to add, Jeremy Lambert?
No.
Well, this is a great show, and we'll see you on Friday at 10:30, which is about a half hour from now. We'll just sit here silently. All right, I can't do the dead air thing for too much longer. It just bothers me.
I knew you would break before me.
I'm the radio guy.
You will not outcommit me to the bit. You will just not. It's not happening.
No one's questioning that. But we can only do so much dead air before it gets really weird.
Exactly. See, I don't care. Again, you cannot outcommit me to the bit.
Some of us cannot sit and listen to you talk about HJs for a good 15 minutes.
I've done 2-hour shows where I don't say anything, Joel. You can't outcommit me to this.
I've been there. I've seen it.
I've actually done, if you total it all together, I've actually done about like 8 hours total on those streams where I've said not one word. So yeah, I can go. That's
about the same amount of time as I've spent watching Ring of Honor get taped over the last 6 days.
Yeah, you've watched a lot of Ring of Honor, a lot of wrestling in general. Look at you making the towns.
My goodness. Yeah, you know what? Did Dynamite on Wednesday. We'll talk about that. And of course, Rampage was there too. They taped Ring of Honor as well. Results are up on the website if you want spoilers. Otherwise, you can wait for Ring of Honor to come out. Some good stuff. So, it's Ring of Honor. But did watch a lot, and we're going to talk about that. Really, listen, we got to lead off we got to talk about Goldberg, man.
I mean, we don't have to.
We don't have to, but we should. Can I tell you?
Have to, for sure.
Here's the problem. I am so annoyed by this comment.
Really?
That Goldberg gave because well, first of all, I'm going to preface this. I think Goldberg is dumb AF for those comments. I think they're stupid. However, I grew up a fan of Goldberg. He's a fellow Jew. What's that? Because he's bald. I mean, yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Goldberg. Anyway, I watched him say those words from that podcast, and I thought to myself, you dumb old bastard. But then a lot of things made sense. He's like, oh, Triple H doesn't like me. I'm like, there are a lot of people who don't like Bill Goldberg. He loved Vince. So that's even further proof that it was a feeling. They were stupid comments. That's really what we get to. They were stupid comments. And
I agree. I don't think Goldberg would have done very well in MMA if he'd entered MMA instead of pro wrestling in the 90s. I agree. Those comments completely out of line.
Bellator, they should sign him for those upcoming Triller fights or for their HBO Max fights. That's where they're doing it. Bring Goldberg in. Let him fight on Bellator.
He'd honestly probably beat some of these people. Although the cat tells a great story. Ernest Miller, for those who don't know.
Your cat?
I mean, my cat's very famous in this household.
That is true.
Ernest Miller tells a great story if he was like sparring with Goldberg and they were going to like film it for something because they thought Goldberg was just going to like bully the cat, and the cat just pushed. Oh, I can't curse. I was going to use a Training Day reference. Hold on. Like, can I fill time for 15 seconds around here? So anyway, Goldberg was gonna, they thought Goldberg, because he's big, bad, former NFL player Bill Goldberg, he was gonna, bully the cat around and everything. Didn't really care at the cat's karate background. The cat pushed his shit in, and they stopped filming it because they're like, oh, this didn't go how we thought this was gonna go. Training Day, baby. Great movie.
I'm glad you waited all that time just to make that reference.
Yeah, love Training Day.
the comments were silly. They were stupid. And it's just another old wrestler getting angry that whatever made him famous was overshadowed by someone else. That's it.
It was, I mean, look, I listened to the whole podcast. Something. If he's bitter about the streak being ended, like, fine. You know, a lot of wrestlers are bitter about a lot of things. It's certainly when they think their influence is being tarnished or overlooked for a newer generation and stuff. Like, if he's bitter about people using a spear, fine. A lot of people do use a spear. A lot of people were using spears during that time. Like, whatever. The ignorant part was, one, Asuka, and two, some Japanese girl.
So back when Asuka first came to WWE, I was listening to primarily PW Torch, and there was one person who kept calling her Asuka.
It's Goldberg.
Well, it wasn't Goldberg, but they may share similar views. It was not Wade. And I kept saying, and I would either email them or tag them on socials and just be like, stop calling her that. They tell you every week how it's pronounced. The U is silent. It's a bridge letter. It's you don't call him Shinsuke Nakamura. You call him Shinsuke. What do you? But that's the thing. Like, they would call him Shinsuke Nakamura and then call her Asuka. And I'm like, they're both Japanese. Like, how the pronunciation goes from one to the other. It wasn't the great Sasuke. You called him the great Sasuke, and that was even before. Anyway, I just got really annoyed by that. And now we've got Goldberg basically doing it again. And it's like, this is just the CTE for Goldberg. Like, there's no other way that he can explain this. He absolutely knows her name is Asuka. Has to.
Does he? I actually don't.
I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it's very.
I actually don't believe he knows her name is Asuka. I don't buy that for a second.
You know what? Probably right. Just
because considering, one, he referred to her as Asuka, and two, then said some Japanese girl, I don't believe for a second he knows it is Asuka. He's mad. He's bitter. It's hilarious that he thinks Bret Hart is bitter about things, which, I mean, I won't say anything bad about Bret. I'll be sleeping on the couch, but, he's also bitter about things.
Can we hold on? But hold on. This is where it really gets stupid. He gets upset because Asuka broke his undefeated streak. 174-0. Asuka was 914, about 2.5 years. She had almost 2 years ahead of this man. And he's just now talking about his saltiness towards it. Nobody in WWE PR would have been like, don't do this. Like, it's just insane. Kairi Sane just beat the shit out of Goldberg.
Love Kairi Sane. She should, honestly. She should. Yeah, I think Goldberg is he's mad about a lot of things. What can you do?
El Hijo de Goldberg in like 3 years when he finishes up his college run.
Oh, dude, he said Mini Gage could beat up Bobby Lashley. He's like, Gage would tear him apart. Look, man, Gage is a big dude, but like Bobby Lashley?
Listen,
I don't know about that.
We're all waiting.
What are we doing here?
The dream match is Gage Goldberg versus Declan McMahon. We're at that stage. We can finally do that fight, and it's going to be legal.
So I'll take Gage in a heartbeat over Declan. Sorry, Dex.
Fine by me. Fine by me. By the way, if you haven't already, leave a thumbs up on the video and donate a super chat. We'll get to those in a second. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. What's wrong with you? It's WrestleMania season. So that means everything is going off.
Reset.
You having some problem there? We messed everything up. Oh, point to the sign, Season's back. There we go. Point to the sign. And of course, leave a thumbs up on the video. I have a very funny story that I will tell in a second. But first, Chuck J sent a super chat saying, Jeremy, I've come around. Heel Candice should beat Roman. Love the work y'all do. Minus Jeremy ranting about HJs. Yeah, well.
Take a look. You open your legs and... I'm kidding.
That was so awful. Very well queued up. Oh man. I like what they're doing with Candice. I think that this is fun stuff. I think that they're honing in on something that's going to be very entertaining with her. She's going to beat up on all the young girls. She's basically doing the Okada 2023 run, and I'm all for it.
I'm telling you, I love the Candice and Hoki. Just I wish on Monday, she kind of got out wrestled. She kind of got out wrestled a little to start the match, and then once one of the KC squared, it was Katana, Katana. When she did like the knee injury, and then she went after that and showed no remorse. Like that part was cool, but I don't need her like getting out wrestled on this. Let Indy get out wrestled on stuff, and then Candice comes in, the smack, and teaches these greenhorns some respect around here. That's how it should have gone down. I don't need Candice looking weak and getting out wrestled here. Don't need it.
Candice Kowalski teaching all the young girls how to wrestle.
Candice Inoki, man. Put the title on her. I don't care about Becky and Rhea. Should step up to Rhea, give her the smack, and then win.
Candice LeRae. You gotta stop trying Candice LeCage. Makes no sense. It's Candice LeRae.
Why is it LeCage?
I don't know. I feel like the bot needs to be corrected here. I'm seeing Candice LeCage.
It's Candice Inoki. Quit making it anything else. That's what it is. It's Candice Inoki.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, So I told you I'd tell a funny story about the remember the balloons incident when we started realizing if you do certain gestures, things kind of pop up. So I was in therapy yesterday, and my therapist says to me, I don't know if you are aware of this, but apparently there's like gesture controls on this app or something. And she started explaining it. And I said, let me stop you there. Let me tell you a story. And I explained to her how gesture controls work on an Apple product. And she was like, oh, you mean it's Apple only? I said, yes. We had a whole thing. There were balloons and fireworks. We know. Don't worry. If you're trying to give me some sort of advice, or not advice, but if you're trying to do the shrink thing, you'll be fine if suddenly fireworks pop up. Well, I will understand. We just had a good laugh over that. But yes,
you should have anyway. You should have, like, if she did it, should have been like, oh, what just happened? How did you set that off? You should have like just acted like you never had seen this before. Like, is your computer okay?
This time costs money, and I'm not doing that.
Or maybe like balloons like trigger something. Like the balloons, they've now triggered a terrible memory of my childhood. I have horrified stories about it. You have just set me off, Mrs. Therapist Lady.
Balloon Jeremy. Oh my goodness. What a time.
Balloon Okada ruled. I mean, he still rules with the stuff he's doing, but Balloon Okada absolutely ruled.
Do you think he's gonna when he loses the Continental Championship, he's gonna start
that damn thing?
No, never. He's gonna retire it.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably should. That's the thing. They're gonna go into the next Continental Classic, and he's gonna hold that title, and he's gonna have to defend it the whole way through.
Well, he probably will.
Good for him.
I do imagine like he'll be in the Continental Classic next year, whether he's the champion or not sure. But
of course, he's not going to go compete in the G1, so they're going to put him in the next best thing.
He might compete in the G1.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm interested in
Never
this.
know.
I'm interested in this news. How can I subscribe to your newsletter?
I don't have a newsletter.
That's fair. We do have Timothy Thatcher, though, joining us in about 10 minutes. We're going to talk MLW War Chamber. We're going to talk about his match against Matt Riddle. He has the link. He knows where to come.
Allegedly. Everyone allegedly has this stuff. You never know.
Hey, that thing you sent me that said you popped you popped big for it. It was a DM reply. Was that from Thatcher?
No, that would have been way more hilarious if it was.
Yes, it would have. Okay.
No. That would have been way, way more hilarious if that was Thatcher who sent that. But no, it was the MLW PR person.
Got you. Okay.
Which is so funny because like just the wording was hilarious. But if it was from Timothy Thatcher, it'd be great.
Sorry, I don't want to be that guy who does this on a podcast. Like, I'll tell you offline. No, this is worth having the online portion for that conversation was worth having just now. So anyway, what else? We have a few minutes. So what do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about how much Goldberg sucks now?
I mean, Goldberg. Here's the thing with Goldberg. He's entitled to his opinion. Again, if he's mad about this, fine. I don't know why he's like just now like talking about it. It's very weird. Like he came back to the company. He had a good run with the company. And that's that show. That was the Goldberg Brock match, right? That same show that Asuka lost to Charlotte. That was a great match. Everyone loved that. It's like an 8-minute sprint.
No, that was the next year.
Is it not?
33 was Goldberg Brock. 34 was Charlotte and Asuka.
Okay. What happened at 34? What did Goldberg do at 34? Anything?
He wasn't.
Oh, all right.
He didn't come back until much later.
Okay. Well, regardless, he'd been back. He'd been back in the company because he wrestled the year before. So he'd been back in the company. So I don't know why he's like mad about this stuff now. And let's be honest, like no offense to Asuka's streak and everything. It was what it was, right? I don't think people talk about it with the same reverence as they do Goldberg's streak. I just don't, because the Asuka streak felt a little forced. It did feel a little forced, and maybe that's what Goldberg is mad about. He's like, this is kind of a forced thing. I don't like that, but no one talks about it in the same way. Just move about your day, go on, and don't call her Asuka and then some Japanese girl. Just at least, if you're going to be bitter about things, be a little be a little not ignorant about it.
Have a little tact. You can be upset about your raison d'etre in wrestling being blown out of the water by this person by 2.5 years. And nobody really remembers the 174 anyway. But the point is, your thing doesn't exist anymore. I'm sorry, your streak is over. You got overshadowed by someone who did it for much longer and arguably much better. Sorry, Bill.
I mean, there's not arguably Asuka's better than.
Hey! Subjective art form, okay? Subjective art form.
What if he was talking about? What if he was talking about Jade Cargill's streak?
Oh, that would have been 20 times the conversation, 20 times more people talking about that. I'll put it that way. Someone saying Jade Cargill was better. Hey, again, it's subjective art form. You like Jade Cargill? Good for you. I think.
Look, I actually like Goldberg. There's a place, obviously, in wrestling for people like Goldberg of just running through the competition like he did. I'm not going to sit here and be like, Goldberg wasn't the hottest thing in WCW and like just an all-time character. Once the streak ended, the mystique was a little bit over. But look, man, Goldberg was, when I was a kid during the Monday Night Wars, loved Goldberg. Now, you know what he should do, Joel? He should do the advice that I tell everybody.
I guess that means you need to shut the fuck up. That's what I do if I don't have no army. I would fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
That's what he should do.
Someone was calling for that earlier, and I agree with it completely.
Well, I couldn't play it in the first 5 minutes. I had to wait for a second.
That is true. And like Jeff Valley was pointing out in the chat, like the streak wasn't even in WWE. It was a WCW streak. And on top of that, Jeremy Lambert, much more importantly, what were your thoughts about Goldberg's heel streak in WCW, not WWE?
Heel? What?
Yeah, he turned heel for a bit. Him and Scott Steiner were pals.
I don't remember. He was on a winning streak as a heel?
No. He didn't have a winning streak as a heel. They ended the streak, and then they didn't know what to do with Goldberg.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then Russo wanted to turn him heel, and Goldberg was like, no. And they're like, TFB, and they did it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, then he became a heel.
Oh, I didn't know there was a streak to it.
No. There was no streak to it. No. We're not talking about.
You said heel streak.
Oh, I mean, in that he had a streak as a heel, not like a winning streak, but like he had a short time where he was a heel.
I don't know. They did a bunch of stuff in WCW that didn't mean anything after about 1999 or so. Well, whatever.
Just give me the reset. Give me all the belts. We're going to Denver, and we're just gonna start everything.
That's sadly like my most watched Nitro episode.
Not sad. That's expected.
Yeah, that's fair. So Adam Yuri, who I met in Greensboro, he was like, wrestling, they do so much nostalgia, but no one's ever brought back the triple cage for like good reason. Like that's one of the worst ideas when no one's ever done it. I'm like,
Worst.
this is like the most watched match I've ever watched. I know that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but like that's the match I've watched the most in my life is that Doomsday Tower of Cage, the alliance to end Hulkamania against Hogan and Savage.
Oh, you're talking about that triple cage.
Yeah.
See, I talk about the other triple cage.
I mean, that triple cage was absurd and awesome as well. But now the Doomsday cage match, that's peak my fandom right there.
That was it. Well, you know what? Let's peak our fandom. If he's ready for us, he's backstage. He can give us a thumbs up if he's good to go. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, very excited now to welcome on to the program. He's going to be at MLW War Chamber next Friday, March 29th in St. Petersburg, Florida. He's going to take on Matt Riddle. We're very excited to welcome Timothy Thatcher to the program. Good morning.
Hello, fellas. How are we today?
Doing well. How are you?
How are you, Tim?
Good. Well, you guys opened with talking about the triple cage. So, I mean, obviously, this is going to be an amazing discussion here.
What are your thoughts on the triple cage, whether it's the WCW big, medium, small, or the Doomsday cage match? What are your thoughts?
To be fair, I missed the triple cage of the big, medium, and small one. That was past my WCW watching time, but the Doomsday cage, I remember that just being a ridiculous, because didn't they have to start at the top and climb down through trap doors and like pull a rope into things? Like it was a bloody mousetrap, wasn't it? Like same as playing the game. Ridiculous. Good for them though. Good for them. That's when you have a lot of money and you think anything, put stuff on top of stuff. It'll be great. Oh, okay.
So hold on. What's the most like ridiculous match you've had, like a gimmick match?
Thankfully for me, my reputation always preceded itself as being a grumpy bastard. So I don't think I didn't end up in anything too ridiculous, I think, ever in my go. So I'm very lucky. No Doomsday Cage, though that would be a great story to have, that I once had to climb from the top of a cage through a little hole all the way down to fight some sort of swamp monster, right? Was that one of the ones they had some sort of...
They had Zeus come in there. Yep. They had...
had to be, right?
Yes.
It was like 25 people versus Hogan and Macho Man, right? So 2 people versus 30 people. Incredible.
Arn Anderson couldn't find his footing. Those cages were like they had like very little give to them. Anderson talks about how, he couldn't move around all that well. He was afraid to like bump on these things because he was afraid that just like they were going to break through. So he just had to carefully move about.
Oh, hard work. That's a hard night of work.
Your match upcoming against Matt Riddle at MLW War Chamber. I mean, this is years in the making from when you replaced Pete Dunne in NXT to defend the NXT tag team titles against Matt Riddle. Let fans know what they can kind of expect with this match against Matt Riddle and how this came about. And again, running it back or not really running it back, but facing each other 4 years after defending the tag team titles with each other.
Yeah, NXT was the last time I did see Matt Riddle, but in all honesty, like our history goes back long before. I've wrestled him in 4 different countries, all over many independent companies. Like when he first started becoming known, I was one of his first big matches in Evolve, and so yeah, me and Mr. Riddle have quite the history. And then of course NXT is obviously the most seen version of it, which culminated in, well, you want to talk about weird cage matches, culminated in a fight pit where Mr. Riddle broke my teeth, which is always a fun, exciting thing. But, I'm not going to get any uglier. So, there wasn't that big of a loss in that one. But, yeah, we seem, even though we have very different personalities, I think our view on professional wrestling is very similar in that it should be very straightforward, hard-hitting, sports-based is more the idea behind it. So that's what we tend to bring out of each other whenever we have these battles. And, yeah, personally, we're very different people, but I think the idea behind the philosophy of this wonderful thing is professional wrestling. I think we share. So,
yeah, this is, I don't know if you know this. This is the 10th time you two are facing each other in singles competition, one-on-one.
10th time. There you go with the stats. Good for you, sir. Yeah, there you go. Hey, how many wins does he got and how many wins do I got?
Normally I would get that for you, but I was pressed for time today. So we'll get that as you answer the next question, we'll get that stat for you.
Okay.
You've got the last
the important ones. That's the key. I win the important ones.
Yes.
Yeah, you've got the last win in the fight pit, so that's all that matters.
Exactly. So speaking of fight pit, another person who was involved in that match was Kurt Angle. Talk to me about kind of working with Kurt Angle in that match with Riddle in the fight pit.
Oh yeah, Kurt Angle was a referee. Yeah, how bizarre life becomes sometimes. In the middle of COVID, there is no one in the audience, but I look across the ring and Matt Riddle's standing atop a cage, and I look to my right and there's Kurt Angle saying, "Are you going to fight?" "Oh, yeah, I guess I am." All right, fair enough. So, yeah, very, very strange times. But, yeah, it was very, very cool that Kurt Angle agreed to be the referee for our little feud and makes us seem more important. So that's always a nice thing because obviously his reputation speaks for himself. So
it's 5-4 Riddle right now.
5-4 Riddle.
Yes, you got the last win, but we're 5-4.
Well, then that means I better try really hard at War Chamber because we got to even this up here. This is important. Oh, goodness gracious.
We're adding stakes to this match.
It's got to even it back up, and then we got to have the rubber match after that. Fair enough. All right. Good to know. And he's like undefeated now in MLW since he came back. So, oh, good. I'm going to have my work really cut out for me then, isn't it?
Is he putting the New Japan TV title on the line? Can we force him to?
Can we force him? Oh, yeah. That's the key. Can we force him? I think New Japan might have something to say about that. I don't think they want this face showing up at their any one of their events. So maybe keep it on the really jacked guy with the long hair. I think make sure he keeps it. We don't want to bring in the toothless old man now.
I mean, you've wrestled in Noah, so would you not be welcome in New Japan?
Yeah, because I do have a consistent job in pro wrestling Noah, which is wonderful. I actually just got back a couple of days ago, so I have no idea what time it is. So, but yeah, because the New Japan guys, they do have a trade a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Japan wrestling is interesting because I'm not quite sure how relationships go between companies. Sometimes it seems allowed and sometimes it doesn't seem allowed. So I don't know how they go. But many like Kaito Kiyomiya wrestled in the G1 this year and he's a big star for Pro Wrestling Noah. At the Tokyo Dome last year, there was many New Japan stars that wrestled. So they do come back and forth. But yeah, I don't know about myself how that would work out. But
so talking about confusion about times, I think a lot of people are confused about you not being a Brit. Can we address this right now? You're from Sacramento, or at least you were built from Sacramento, California.
Yes.
Where does this British confusion come from, and how do you react when people think, "Oh, this guy's British," and you come out and you're like full American accent?
Well, so yes, I am from Sacramento, California. That is correct. I think because I spent so much time in Europe, that's where I kind of I lived in Germany for 3 years, and like I was working just for WXW in Germany, and then all the England companies because obviously it's very close. Easy to work in England when you live in Germany than when you do in the United States. That's a little bit easier commute. So it was that run. Also, when I started, my trainer originally put me with a shtick that was more along those lines because I kind of did my young boy training in England. For 3 months, I lived in a ring van and worked for the famous Brian Dixon All-Star Wrestling shows. where I would come set up the ring and do all that stuff. So I kind of got a lot of my early experience as well in England. So I've spent a good portion of my life in Europe, and now my beautiful wife is English as well. So there is a lot of ties into the go. But yeah, how I become that, it floats in and out. I think it's prevalent because my life isn't really an open book. So people can jump to whatever conclusions that they want on the go. But yeah, I think there's been enough stuff of me rambling on that, yeah, obviously not a proper Brit.
And you were part of Ring Conf with Walter, now Gunther,
Yes,
when that first started as well. So I feel like that also plays a big part in it, because you did spend a lot of time early on in Europe. But we're gonna set the record straight. Timothy Thatcher from Sacramento, not from Europe.
Correct. Sacramento, California, which people also find very odd when they find out I'm from California, because they're like, that doesn't fit either. I was like, yeah, okay. I'm a wandering man at this point in my life, so it's very difficult to pin down.
Making your return, making your return to MLW. The last time we saw you, unfortunately, the bout was stopped against Tracy Williams. How are you feeling? Obviously, you've wrestled since then, but do you feel like, all right, I gotta almost make up for that, because that, I'm sure, didn't end the way you wanted, and a lot of fans were hoping it would end?
No, yeah, there's professional wrestling is a very dangerous thing, and thank goodness for referee Frankie to save my life, because I was out and I was still trying to get up, and he's like, no, you're not. And thankfully he called the match, because that could have been a very bad situation. Yeah, stuff happens, and the more it's unfortunate, but the more damage that we accumulate from many years of this starts adding up. And then accidents like that, or certain situations, seem to come out more and more. So thankfully I was all right. I just time traveled a bit, where 1 minute I'm in the ring, the next minute I'm sitting on the chair in the locker room going like, oh, and the doctor's standing over me. You all right? Oh, yeah, doc. Okay, thanks. But yeah, very scary. But again, thanks so much to the referee Frankie, like taking care of me and all that stuff. But yeah, those things are always weigh on your mind, and that's, yeah. Oof. So yeah, hopefully this time for MLW. But I mean, once again, I'm in there with Matt Riddle, so a knockout is always a possibility, because as fun-loving as that man can be, he's also still a very dangerous individual. So yeah, let's hope I keep my hands up this time.
There are a lot of different individuals in the MLW locker room, and you were, again, there fairly recently, but out of the new crop of talent that are there, who are you most looking to hook up with after Riddle? Let's say you get past him.
After Riddle, Alex Kane, obviously, who is the past MLW champion. He won the belt the night that I was there last. He's a very impressive individual. Also, currently, the current MLW champion is Satoshi Kojima, who I actually hold a victory over in Noah in a singles match. So, hey, if I do well with Riddle, maybe I get a shot at the belt next, because me and Kojima have history as well. So, yeah, of course, MLW is always very good at bringing in a cross-section of talent, many different individuals with many different skills, and they all excel in their specific thing, which makes the company very interesting and something worth watching.
Got to ask about Bloodsport. You're returning for Bloodsport X to take on Axel Tischer. You're the only person in Bloodsport who has defeated Josh Barnett as well. So tell me about just your experiences overall at Bloodsport and that style of the hybrid of the MMA and the wrestling.
Sure. I really enjoy Bloodsport. It is what I think professional wrestling should be, and that's straightforward professional wrestling. Even though I had ups and downs in Bloodsport, but I did, it's one of those things where you never take fights you think you're going to lose. But when I took the match with Josh Barnett, the conclusion in your mind is, oh, I figure this isn't going to go my way. But, every so often things work out, and I just happened to catch him. And that's the crazy part about submission wrestling. It's literally anyone can catch anyone at any time. So I did get a victory over Mr. Barnett, which is probably one of the biggest victories I've ever had in my career, and very grateful that occurred. So Bloodsport is a wonderful thing. This year I get to wrestle Axman, Axel Tischer, who the last time I wrestled him was for WXW in 2012, where WXW would have an Ambition tournament, which was similar to Bloodsport. They didn't take the ropes down, but it was only knockout or submission, and it was a 10 count and all this stuff. And my debut for the company was for their tournament in 2012, and myself and Axman were the finals, and he won at that point. But so this is many years in the making as well. And also Axel Tischer used to be the brain force behind the ring comp idea, but he was signed to WWE and he left before it became anything wrestling wise. So him, Walter, and Axel Dieter Jr., who is Marcel, but no, now he's Ludwig Kaiser. Too many names. I can't follow anymore. But they all came up with the idea for the ring conf in terms of just being an idea and a philosophy to follow in wrestling. But Axman ended up being signed to WWE as Alexander Wolf, and he left. And we ended up being the ones that actually put it out there for professional wrestling. So me and Tischer have a long, long history as well. So I have all these battles now because if you hang around long enough, all of a sudden you end up with the same people. You go in circles, and it is nice to revisit and see how we've all progressed because we all keep moving forward.
I love that you brought up Ambition because one of the first times I saw you wrestle live was WXW Ambition in Toronto in 2019.
Oh, fantastic.
So I got to see you not only wrestle Walter in the finals, but also in the semis, you faced Daniel Makabe, who's about to have his final match. Talk to me about working with Daniel because he is a Canadian talent that a lot of Canadians are fond of, and he's heading into his final match at the SCI tournament coming up.
Yeah, well, I also have a match with him coming up on the same day as Bloodsport, the evening for Action Wrestling. Their event that they will have that night, I'll have a match with Daniel Makabe as well, which was interesting. Strange how things in pro wrestling work. With Daniel Makabe, I wrestled him 3 years in a row on the exact same event, which was how our series began. So, I can't get the years right because I've been hitting the head too much. But it was for 3-2-1 battle. Literally every July, I would go on their event, and we would have a match. And he ended up 2-1 on me, but the Toronto one for Ambition was after that, and I'm up on him. So now we're also even. So this will be the rubber match coming up also on April the 4th. But yeah, Daniel, it's just one of those things that you never know how you're going to link up with people in pro wrestling. And we had the first match, and the company was like, we have to do this again. And it took another year, and then it became a tradition. All right, every year, this is how we're going to settle this thing. So I have one more go with Mr. Makabe before he ends up retiring it. Yeah, the SCI, which I got to do last year, and that's a wonderful tournament down in beautiful Chattanooga, Tennessee. So, yeah, these are good things.
Got to ask about being Chris Hero's return match and being trusted. I know you have a long history with Chris Hero before he did this big return, but he'd been offered about 3 years, and then you were trusted with the spot of Timothy Thatcher's my first opponent back. So how did that match come together, and what was it like stepping back in the ring with Chris Hero?
Yeah, once again, lots of history with him. My matches I had with Chris Hero in 2014, I think, really helped elevate my level in independent professional wrestling. Because before then, I would make little appearances here and there and stuff. But I think my matches with Mr. Hero is what led to me getting quite a bit of momentum. And it definitely helped for Evolve at the time, which I had just started with when we had our first big match. So for him coming back and me being the guy, I think it was a natural fit because once again, like I said, if you share the same view of professional wrestling, it tends to lead to good things. And I think me and Mr. Hero lead the same kind of image of how this is and all that. So I was very grateful to be a part of that. You can pull up the stats of how many times we have on the go, but I think he's in the lead now because he won the last one. So I need to have another go with him. But these are
you actually have more victories.
No,
is it tied? Okay,
you're tied.
Oh.
You did quicker math than I did, Joel.
Whoa, there you go.
No, Joel's wrong. If we're just counting singles matches, it is 4-3 in favor of Timothy.
What are you talking about? I'm looking at singles matches. Hero defeats Thatcher. Thatcher defeats Hero.
You're
Hero
wrong.
defeats Thatcher. Hero
You're
defeats
wrong.
Thatcher. Thatcher defeats Hero. Thatcher defeats Hero.
Joel, there's 7 matches between them. It can't be tied when the number is 7.
I see 6 in front of me.
All right, hold on.
Oh.
Timothy, this is live.
This is what we do. The argument.
There's
beauty
controversy. There's a
of
power
live-
struggle. We must find out.
of a live interview here. Hold on. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to put it on screen. You're going to want to punch Joel in the face for being wrong and putting out misinformation. All right, here we go. It's uploading now. Count them up. Tell me who's correct.
Oh my God, it's the West Coast Progress.
IWA Mid-South, Evolve 62. Oh, why? No. Oh, because you have Ono in there. Okay, I don't count. I'm counting Chris Hero.
What do you mean you don't count it?
Oh.
What do you mean you don't count it?
Yeah, no, I'm looking up Chris Hero. I'm looking up the OG. I'm not looking up the KO number 2.
Acknowledge me for being correct.
Never.
Well, if you guys put up that list and you're looking for other names, we also had our very first match we both had 2 bizarre names.
Oh no.
It was for the Wrestling Retribution Project in 2011. I think he was Chris Hyde and I was Bryce Baxter Collins. That technically is our first match.
Here it is. Right? Okay, he won
that
that match. So that would make it officially tied because he did win that match.
Thanks for the assistance,
Patrick. But in all honesty, I'm very grateful that all these people that you bring up that I have all these histories with, that I've had multiple battles against and all this stuff, I'm very grateful that they are all very talented professional wrestlers. I'm very lucky that this is the kind of people that I'm drawn to and that my career has been kind of woven together with. Pro wrestling is a very bizarre thing, and you are so much in as you're made as much as your opponents are. And having these people that we've discussed today, Matt Riddle and Axel Tischer and Chris Hero and Daniel McCabe, are 4 very tremendous professional wrestlers that I'm very grateful to share the ring with. And whether we have differences personally or not, professionally, I think we always provide a very good, straightforward, hard-hitting pro wrestling match that seems to be enjoyed by the masses. So I'm very lucky in that aspect.
One person who I think you've only wrestled once, unless there's more weird name games here going on. And it seems like you guys share a similar philosophy on wrestling. But Bryan Danielson, you wrestled him last year on Dynamite. How did that match come together?
So this is an adventure. I'm over in Japan for Pro Wrestling Noah. And because of the time difference, a week before, at 1 a.m, I get a message. Would you like to wrestle Bryan Danielson on TV next week? Yeah, of course I would. But I'm in Japan at the moment. You know I live in America. I'll be home in however long it was. Maybe then would be a better idea. 30 minutes go by. I doze back off to sleep. What if we fly you from Tokyo? Yeah, okay. Well, let me check with the office because I was working for Pro Wrestling Noah. I have jobs for them, so I need to be back in time to work their matches as well. And it sorted out where I flew to Dayton, Ohio for one day. I turned around and flew all the way back to Tokyo and then had 2 matches immediately the next 2 days for Pro Wrestling Noah. So, but it's one of those things. I was very glad that it did happen. And that was probably based on Mr. Danielson's recommendation. I don't think anyone at AEW has any idea about who I am or anything like that. So I think that was his idea, which is also a wonderful little tick to have in your box. So, yeah, I was very glad to do that. We do share the same mentality. I always say his match, I went to APW King of Indies in 2001. And the first match that was on the event that I went to was American Dragon Bryan Danielson versus Doug Williams. And I didn't want to be a wrestler. I had no thoughts of it. But I remember watching that and sitting there going like, oh, this is how this is supposed to be. So to get that match was very important to me. And I'm glad it happened.
We have a little game before we let you go that we like to play. It's called Partner, Promo, Punch in the Face. I'm going to give you 3 names from your past, and you're going to tell me which one you want to pick to have a promo off in the ring with, which one you want to have a partner for a tag team match with, and which one you want to punch in the face, go one-on-one singles competition. Are you ready?
I'm ready, sir.
All right. Chris Hero, Josh Barnett, Bryan Danielson, Timothy Thatcher, partner, promo, punch in the face.
Wow. Well, Mr. Barnett is obviously the most dangerous of those crew, so please make him my partner. I need him on that promo off. Now, unfortunately, it's not necessarily my strong suit. I'm not much of a rambling man here, but yeah, goodness. I guess Mr. Hero, we can have that because I would like another match with Mr. Bryan Danielson. So I'll take that for the match, sir.
I like that because Hero, you have that history with. You two can draw from that in a promo, and you'll get the match, of course. That's what happens in a promo off.
Of course, it leads to it. Right, exactly.
But first on the list is Matt Riddle next Friday, March 29th at MLW War Chamber. It's in St. Petersburg, Florida, or you can watch it on Triller TV Plus. Timothy Thatcher, is there anything else you want to put over before we get you out of here?
It sounds wonderful to me. Please, because I work for Pro Wrestling Noah, also on March 31st at Wrestle Universe, they have a very big show. The current GHC heavyweight champion, El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., who's 3rd generation of the Wagners and is only the 2nd person that's not a Japanese born resident to be the GHC champion, is defending against Jake Lee, who is a very dominant champion as well. So, so MLW War Chamber on the 29th on Triller TV Plus. Please watch that. And then a couple days later, Wrestle Universe, please, Pro Wrestling Noah. These are companies that are being very kind to me, and I appreciate working for both of them. So please.
You've been very kind with your time, and we appreciate it very much. Timothy Thatcher, the one and only. Thank you so much.
Thank you, fellas. Go back, enjoy, talk about your 3-tiered cage.
You know what? I think we will. Have yourself a good day.
Thanks very much.
Take care. Thank you, Timothy.
Oh, I got him. There we go. Oh, right. Timothy Thatcher. That was a fantastic conversation. I love that we got to jump right in with triple cages, and we get to jump right out with more triple cages. Which cage do we want to talk about?
I mean, we can talk about any cage we want, but real quickly, I mean, that was a whole lot of fun. I didn't know what to expect with Timothy Thatcher, not in like a bad way or anything, but we know who Timothy Thatcher is. He's very straightforward, no nonsense kind of wrestler. And I think when we opened it up with the triple cage stuff, he came in pretty loose with us, and so that made it more fun. You know, Jeff Valley Driver saying Timothy Thatcher smiling happily is a trip. Yeah, like it was very surprising. I was like, oh man, this is really good. So shout out to Timothy Thatcher for for doing that. Very generous with his time, and appreciate MLW for setting that up as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did Grapsody not too long ago. And so when you asked him about the Danielson story and he started telling, I was like, I know this story. And I'm pretty sure that was that he told it on the Grapsody interview. So
Okay.
because I'm not saying that to make fun or anything. I remember when you and I were talking about the kind of questions we ask, and you're like, I consume a lot of this already, so a lot of this stuff I know, but maybe others don't. This is one time where I was like, oh, I know this one. We've been here.
So I knew of the story. I've heard it. I think I probably transcribed it, but that was a thing where, with our audience, Chris Hero has been on Grapsody. Maybe Timothy Thatcher has as well. But regardless, I have heard that the Danielson story from Thatcher, but this was one of those times where, like we've talked about in the past, maybe our audience hasn't heard this story. So
it was Wrestling Perspective had him. Sorry, it was another one of our shows.
Yeah. So again, I'd heard the story, but again, maybe our audience hasn't heard the story. So that's why I was going to ask. And I think people know me well enough by now that, like, if I can work in a Bryan Danielson question, I'm probably going to work in a Bryan Danielson question.
Well, of course. Otherwise, what are we doing here?
Yeah. So it was good. That was a lot of fun with Timothy Thatcher. A lot of fun.
Yeah, good stuff. We're looking forward to hopefully our Monday interview coming through. We're going to talk about that at the end of the show. But good times with Timothy Thatcher. Looking forward to that match with Riddle. What do you make of the Mauro Ranallo news that Fightful Select broke? I love that little troll of a boss of ours.
Yeah,
putting that up on a Wednesday evening, thinking that's okay. Let's go. MLW Mauro Ranallo, Mamma Mia MLW.
I mean, fine. Like, sure. Sure.
You get $20 million. What are you going to do next? I'm going to buy Mauro Ranallo a contract. We'll see.
If you don't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing.
That's fine. We'll just talk about Asuka a little bit more. How about that?
Nah, I don't have anything against Mauro Ranallo. I don't think he likes me, so I don't think he knows who I am, but I don't think he likes me.
Has he blocked you on socials?
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
My goodness. Anyway,
So.
Listen, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens at War Chamber on the 29th. Let's move on. You want to talk about Dynamite, or you want to talk about the thumbnail?
You're running things, Joel.
I know.
You're called Joel Paro.
I'd like to give you the option. And also, like, here's the thing. I was at Dynamite and Rampage because they ran concurrently. I don't know if we want to talk about that or if the Rousey book is something we want to get into, because the book hasn't officially dropped yet, but a lot of quotes have. Yeah, her book officially drops April 4th, which is the perfect time. It's just before WrestleMania, but she's done some press tours and she's talked about her recent quotes that were released through the press. And she definitely had some very interesting things to say, considering how much more she wanted to dig in to the old white man club, as I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially how she put it when she discussed her dislike and disdain for certain members of the WWE brass.
I would like to read the whole book. I know I've seen the excerpts. I've listened to the interviews and everything. I would like to read the whole thing. It was clear her second run did not go as how she had hoped. I don't know if that was, she made allusions to creative being held over her head and things like that. I don't know who is at fault. It didn't seem like she was super interested in the run, but maybe she wasn't super interested in the run because she wasn't happy with what she was doing. I said at the SummerSlam match, that should have ended in a quick knockout instead of what they attempted to do. I think that would have been more fruitful certainly for Shayna. I know, but Rousey was on her way out. The tag team stuff was something, by all accounts, she pushed for, she wanted to do. She wanted to elevate the division, and it just wasn't happening. And it hasn't been happening since they basically made the women's tag team champions a thing. Like,
there were two women who walked out of the company specifically because that division wasn't getting the attention they thought it deserved.
Yeah. So it was clear the second run didn't go well. And it was clear that, that she wasn't thrilled with how that went, and now she can speak about it a little bit. Some of the parts of the book is certainly, when she talks about like Saudi Arabia, like she went to Saudi, so and she had at the time when she was in the company, she had glowing things to say of like, the only way to make a change is to go and everything. But now it's, oh, Vince wishes he had this kind of control over things. All right, like your actions spoke a little bit louder than your words when you were part of the company, and now your words are saying something a little bit different with everything. It does seem like she had issues with Bruce Pritchard. She said that. She came out and tweeted that when a lot of the Vince McMahon lawsuit stuff came out. Laurinaitis seems to be part of that as well. It'll be an interesting read. Again, I'd like to read it for the full context of things. The stuff on the Divas era is, I don't want to say odd, because I don't think that's the correct word, but she wasn't there for that. Like, she's recounting stuff that like we all kind of know, but it's not like she was there for any of that. It just feels like she's trying to set up the culture there, which we know, which is fine, but I don't know what that has to do fully with like her story. When I read it, I'm like, yeah, all of this is terrible. It does paint a picture of the culture, but this was also 20 years before you got there. So, and 20 years is a little, no, 20 years is actually correct.
That's 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah. This is also 20 years before you got there. So it's like, and also like, no offense, some offense. Like she loves Dana White. And like Dana White isn't exactly the greatest human being in the world either. So, and he kept women out of the UFC for the longest time until he could make money with Ronda Rousey.
This is what makes the comments coming from her so interesting and confusing, but also fully sensical, because this whole story that she's telling, this whole experience she's giving, is her view as a woman in sports. And I think you're right. The stuff about Divas, yes, she was not there. That is factual. To me, it was a setup to explain how much it changed by the time she got there, and how it should have changed quicker, and how the same thing happened to her with judo and working in the Olympics, and then how it changed again in MMA, and how she became part of the change. I'm not going to say she was the sole reason, but she was a huge reason for women in sports to become taken more seriously in those realms where she dominated. So for her to come out and say, WWE was doing all of this stuff that also marginalized and minimized women, and then I came in and my feeling was, I'm going to revolutionize the women's division here and make it a serious division for actual wrestlers, and not just entertainers with large chests and just looks based and that's it. I think that's what she was getting at, and she was trying to kind of set it up. She was on Never Before Told, and she was asked about the actual book and what she has said and what's been out there so far in the excerpts. And I love this quote. She says, "The only thing that really held me back was the number of words I was allowed to have in this book. We were contractually held to 90,000 words, and I was going to talk so much more shit, especially about John Laurinaitis and Bruce Pritchard." We knew she doesn't like Bruce Pritchard, by the way. That's just my aside. Continuing on, "I understand. We had to streamline everything and not take a detour on the F these old bastards path. There was a lot more to it, but I had to get down to the meat and potatoes." She very clearly was disenfranchised in her second run for multiple reasons. She also isn't the angel either, because there was creative at one point laid out for her. Some things she was like, no, not going to work for me, brother. That is what it is. But also she came back to Royal Rumble. She won that Rumble. And I said this on another podcast yesterday. She basically said, I'm going to go mac on my baby and go sit on my bus. And that's after she won the Rumble. And everyone was already disenfranchised with her just showing up and winning. Now we were getting to this, and her whole feeling was, I don't care about wrestling. I care about my new baby, which understandable. I get it. But if you're trying to be relatable in the confines of wrestling and storytelling, that already was a rough start. So it felt like her return to WWE in 2022 was just kind of ill-gotten and ill-conceived. And maybe it all played out in what she's going to say in the book, but it also felt like she was kind of turned off by that point from professional wrestling.
It did seem like that. Again, the second run wasn't what it was already. She came back, and I don't think anybody was really thrilled that she came back and won the Rumble, and then she couldn't figure out if she was a babyface or a heel. Maybe she's getting two different messages and everything. Don't know. WWE was going through a lot behind the scenes in the start of 2022, and then they continued to go through a lot 2022, 2023, like just with everything. So I'm sure she was hearing different voices and trying to do one thing and being told another thing. The stuff on, explaining what she was coming into, I agree it was like a setup for all of that. But again, she was coming into this stuff 20 years, even 10 years after a lot of this had happened. She was coming into a pretty good female environment. I mean, they just had the 2018 was the first women's rumble, right? Because Asuka had won, and then Rousey came in right there. Like, she was coming into a when women were being put on a higher level. And look, she helped. I don't know if they main event WrestleMania 35 if she's not part of that. I don't know if it's just Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch are main eventing WrestleMania 35. Ronda Rousey's name helped a lot. I'm never going to deny that. I'm never going to deny the drawing and the attention she had in the UFC and in WWE, especially that first run. You can't deny that. And this is where you need more than the excerpts to really talk about some of this stuff, because the excerpts obviously don't make it anything look good. She's just it just seems like she's calling out everything. You need don't read the headline, read the full article. Don't read the full article, listen to the entire interview. And that's basically where I'm at. Is the excerpts say one thing. I would like to read the entire book to see how a lot of this is set up, because she talks about all this, and the way you read these excerpts is like, okay, why'd you even go to this company then? Why did you go to Saudi Arabia then, if like this is how you felt about all of this? Because the way you make it sound, it's like this is the worst place ever, but you still went there and accepted a check for all of this stuff. Like, that doesn't paint you in the best light. So I would want to, again, I want to read the full book, because I want to know what this setup leads to, and how obviously the culture in WWE changed from 20 years ago to now. I'll say the on-screen culture, because I think we've learned that the off-screen culture maybe didn't change quite as much in regards to certain people. The on-screen culture changed over 20 years. And, again, I want to read the full thing with that, of why she talked about so much of the kind of on-screen culture and a little bit of the behind the scenes culture, but still went there and almost subjected herself to it based on these excerpts.
Yeah, I'm curious about the things you're saying. I am. I also, again, I recognize Rousey as someone who has been in certain terms, a mogul for women in sport and a proponent for women in sport. And I think that's where a lot of her, that's where a lot of her view from this book is going to come from, or where a lot of her writing is going to come from, is from her experience as a woman in professional wrestling, in MMA, in judo, and all that, in male-dominated sports, coming in and trying or making a revolutionizing attempt at it. And in some ways succeeding. I think you're right. WrestleMania 35, that main event would not have been a main event if Ronda Rousey wasn't there. And, the importance of her coming in at the Royal Rumble in 2018 was that you were going to use her as a platform for the women to rise to with her, because she brings a mainstream level of success that wrestling doesn't always afford people who are only in wrestling. So again, to me so far, it reads very much as I am a woman. I was in the sport. This is my experience, good or bad. I'm telling you everything. And you're going to hear some stuff. And it sounds like she really wanted to go harder, and maybe she will.
Well, I hope she kind of keeps the same energy when it comes to UFC then, because as I said, Dana White wanted nothing to do with women before Ronda Rousey. Before he saw Ronda Rousey and saw the number she drew on Strikeforce, he wanted nothing to do with them. And then he saw like, oh, I can make money off of this. Okay, cool. Then this is where I got a little bit of a disconnect, because she does speak very highly of Dana, but then calls out WWE when I don't think there's too big of a difference between the two. But because Dana, again, saw her in a certain way, the relationship is obviously different. Dana saw he could make a lot of money with her. And so he's like, all right, let's bring in women to the UFC. But before that, and even still kind of to this day, Dana said some stuff about women. Dana's done some stuff.
Kate's in the chat. Retweeted one of her tweets about Bruce Pritchard. We all know which one. And Shane Hayes responded by telling me that Bruce Pritchard thought Slapjack was a legit badass name. So God bless for that interaction. Oh,
Slapjack
boy.
is a badass name.
It is a badass name. Not like them flapjacks from Booker T, though. Shout out to the Grapsity boys. All right, where are we off to next? You want to talk about Dynamite? You want to talk about Rampage? You want to get there?
I'm excited for Becky Lynch's book.
Yeah, you know what? The bot in the chat is asking, there was the whole A-Shock, you're a bot. I'm sorry, beep boop.
A-Shock came up with the Booker T flapjacks. Let's give him some credit here.
That's upsetting. He did, didn't he? Or they did. I assume gender here. Oh, that's right. My bad. Anyway, the A-Shock AI bot came up with the idea for us to talk about Becky Lynch saying in her book that the Bianca Belair stuff that started at SummerSlam 2021, and I was there for that, was not what she wanted to do, but that she made a promise to Bianca that she would make it right. And she did. And Bianca was like, I had no reason to believe this woman. And well, she did. And this is great. So I like that this is coming out in the book. A little bit of happiness coming out of the Becky Lynch book, which I'm looking forward to reading when it drops imminently.
Becky has said as much about like thinking it's a bad idea and not really having a choice. That whole SummerSlam thing, the stuff like of consoling Bianca and saying like, I'm going to make this right. That's largely new information. And she did. And like, I think Becky is a very good example of advocating for women and trying to do everything she can to put women on a higher level. There aren't too many people who got bad things to say about Becky Lynch.
I mean, the people who say bad things about Becky Lynch are often wrong, so there's that.
Got to play this clip now.
I am Anna from Fightful, and I'm here with superstar Becky Lynch. Hi, man, I love you.
Oh, thank you. I don't know you, but if we got to know each other, I think I could love you too. Maybe.
Amazing human being, Becky Lynch.
Just for that moment alone, she could retire now and we're good to go. It's always the squeal from Anna at the end that always gets me.
Just amazing.
Top tier acting.
I'm looking forward to Becky's book though. It should be really good.
We talked about the picture already, the Seth Rollins and Becky from Mania 35.
Yeah.
Good stuff. You know what? Let them enjoy those moments. Definitely got people talking, and I think that's great. Listen, the book is going to be, for all intents and purposes, it's going to be a very, very good book. A lot of experience there, and a lot of revealing info and photos apparently. So that's going to be a fun one. Looking forward to that. All right, Dynamite, Rampage. I was there. They taped 45 minutes of Ring of Honor as well. You want spoilers, Jeremy?
No, you sent them to me already.
You're right. You already saw them. Hey, Chad, you want Ring of Honor spoilers? Let me tell you, a whole lot of people won a whole lot of matches. I did it. Anyway, let's talk about the show. Jeremy Lambert, I have once said how much I enjoy sitting next to the hard cam whenever I go to professional wrestling shows. AEW apparently heard that. gave me a ticket literally next to the hard cam on Wednesday night. Good for me. I was happy. People win matches now. Not in Ring of Honor. They don't. They just kind of exist. Where do you want to start with where do you want to start with Dynamite? I was there, but I haven't watched it back yet. Day 2 of having not watched it.
You haven't watched it back? Wow.
No, fake fan over here.
Oh, a lot happened on Dynamite. A lot of dick kicking.
Thank you. I did that. Spent the whole night with our pal Chris Walder, who does Raptors stuff. He was sitting with me. It wasn't planned. We just happened to be sitting next to each other. And I kept saying, kick him in the dick. And he was like, why do you want people to kick you in the dick so bad? I said, well, in professional wrestling, it's very easy to win a match if you just kick someone in the dick and then roll them up. Referee's not looking, kick him in the dick. No disqualification match, kick him in the dick. Roll him up, get the win.
He used the spike bat on the dick too.
There you go. You have a giant spike bat that you brought out of Collision and you told everyone you were going to use it and you didn't use it until the last 5 minutes of the match. Nail him in the dick. I was a very happy camper at the end of that I Quit match because Adam Copeland was listening to me all night, yelling, kick him in the dick, did those things, and used spike on him. We're happy.
Well, that was a good match. I like the ode to hockey that they did. Although Christian kind of a little too willingly put on that Bruins jersey. Felt like he could have fought that.
Oh, he's a heel.
Well, and also he recognizes if I put on a Bruins jersey, I got a better chance of winning than if I put on this Maple Leaf jersey.
The 2011 was a trip. That Game 7 was my favorite night. My buddy, whose name was also Joel, we were living together at the time. We were sitting down eating Chinese food, and there were 11 minutes left in the third period. And he's like, all right, this game is over. I'll see you later. And I'm like, I don't think this game is over, man. And he goes upstairs to his room, and then Bruins score. And I'm like, are you sure you want to be away for this? He's like, yeah. And then the Bruins score again. And I was like, I don't think you want to leave. And then when we sat and we watched the rest of it laughing because we're both Sens fans. We felt good that night.
Bruins and Leafs might meet again in the playoffs this year. It seems like it's shaping up that way with the way the standings work.
And they'll have a video to use every time they play from now on.
Yeah, they will. So I really like that match. Copeland winning. We'll see where it leads. I think he's doing the open challenge still, which fine. I'm over the open challenges. I know that's become almost a staple of the TNT title, and the Cope Oakland is what he had been doing. I hope Daniel Garcia answers it and just beats him. That would be my ideal scenario. But that was a good match. And then Okada winning. I hope Okada never defends this title. I hope he goes the opposite direction. The EVPs just protect him, and he doesn't have to defend it. He just wrestles. He wrestles the trios matches. Maybe he does some singles matches and he beats these dudes, but the title's not on the line. And that's what I want for Okada. Just some squash matches, non-title. Doesn't actually have to beat anybody. And maybe at pay-per-view he can defend the title and stuff. But I don't need Okada doing open challenges or anything like that. Who was coming into your room, Joel?
Not important.
Oh. Boy, the door just magically opened.
No, it didn't.
Was I supposed to kayfabe that?
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Well, I just want Okada just continuing to be a little smarmy dickhead and beating the shit out of some nobodies. That's what I want.
By the way, shout out to Dexter Doom. Dark Horse Dexter Doom was the guy who got the jersey, the Bruins jersey, off his back. He's a local talent from Canada. And Cecil Nix was also there. He was, I think he was doing the Leafs jersey. So shout out to those guys. They were also on Mystery Wrestling with Evil Uno. So wanted to shout those guys out because they're local, they're Canadian, and y'all should be paying more attention to them. It was the ghost of Kate's toothbrush that came into the room. By the way.
Fair, sure.
Listen, I know that you are not the biggest Adam Copeland fan, but this was...
Don't put that out there. I've never said that. Love Adam Copeland.
Looking forward to having Adam Copeland on the show one of these days so we can replay the supercut of Jeremy Lambert's feelings towards Adam Copeland.
You won't put that together, so I'll be okay.
You can hire someone to do it.
No, good luck.
I know, right? No one wants to do that. Hey, where are the timestamps? I don't know. Just watch every episode we've ever done. I'm sure you'll find it. Anyway, Adam Copeland winning the TNT title, again, made sense. We talked about this on Wednesday's show. There was no reason for him not to win it, because if you weren't going to have him win it, what the heck were you going to have him do from here? Because his whole reason for coming into AEW was to partner with his best friend. And then when he couldn't partner with his best friend, he had to beat up his best friend. And if he wasn't going to successfully beat up his best friend, then he's just a big old loser. So it's nice for him to come in. Should have been a loser. I'm starting to wonder. So Jericho and Hook. I'm bringing this up for a reason.
Why? What are we doing?
Let's just skip to the end. We can talk about the match itself.
Jump shot wet.
Jericho says, I have a proposition for Hook next week.
That's not good.
I think that it's going to be Jericho offering his managerial services to one Peter Hook, whatever his last name is. Sinersha? Anyway, I think Hook, who's not a great promo, is going to take Jericho on as a mouthpiece, which sounds awful. And Jericho's gonna be like, I'm gonna lead you to a championship because I am the first AEW world champion. So I can help you. And then it's gonna end with Hook versus Adam Copeland in the TNT championship. And I don't like it, but I could see it. And then Jericho goes after Hook's AEW TNT championship.
What?
What? I don't love it, but I can see them doing it.
Sure.
Didn't you love it though?
I'm not adding anything to Jericho and Hook.
The match itself, the crowd was 50-50ing Jericho, which I thought was hilarious. And I really enjoyed the fact that he comes out to White Zombie and people are booing that they can't sing Judas. And I thought that alone made the price of admission worth it. What FTW? I've never heard of the FTW title. No one's heard of that title. Anyway, the match was fine. Jericho got knocked on his head. Should have happened more.
So Jericho should come up to Hook next week and he's like, hey buddy, I got a proposition for you. And Hook, he's eating his chips or his pizza or whatever. And Hook is like,
wait, don't do this. Let's let somebody else super chat what Hook would say. I want their money. I don't want the bit.
Joel, no.
Yeah. Come on. Let's go.
No, absolutely not. Folks, if you want to do that, that's fine. We appreciate your support. I'm not going to out here beg for money to do this. That's not our show. No. Stop. Yeah. No. Yes. This is a bit that I always do. We're not going to be like, hey, someone super chat for the... No.
You ruined the end of the bit because you were supposed to tell me, fuck you.
I didn't. No.
You ruined the bit for yourself, Jeremy.
No, you tried to do something there that we're not doing.
Oh, come on. You didn't do it properly. You just didn't follow it up right.
Don't do that, Joel.
Stop trying to make me look like the bad guy here for making a joke.
I don't know. What was the joke?
The joke was that you shut it down and then you say, Joel, F you, but then you didn't do it. Instead, you try to get on your moral high horse and make it a thing.
Well, because you stepped on the bit to try to ask for money. There was no joke there.
So that you would turn it back around and use the joke on me instead. You ruined it for yourself and made it.
Okay, maybe clue me in on something like that.
We usually read each other better than that. What are you talking about?
You got to at least like clue me in a little bit, because otherwise it just sounded like you were just like, hey guys, pay for money, instead of Jeremy doing the bit that he always does.
I thought it was a setup, says Wes Oliver. They understood.
Well, he thought it was a setup because now we're talking about it.
Yeah, because I just had to tell you the setup.
No. You gotta work a little bit better than that, Joel.
Nah, I'm good.
You can't go off script.
Nah, I've worked hard my whole life to get here, so I'm good. Don't you worry.
So anyway, Jericho comes to Hook with next week with a proposition. He's like, hey man, that was a good victory you had last night or last week. Jericho can't remember these things. It's a good victory you had. I got a proposition for you. And Hook, he's eating his pizza or his chips or whatever he's eating. And he's like, fuck you. That's it. Fade to black. That's it.
And that's the end of AEW altogether, or what?
That's how I would book the end of pro wrestling. A-Shock asks that question all the time. How would you book the finale of pro wrestling? It would end with Hook saying, fuck you.
There's an old post on Reddit somewhere in the Squared Circle archives that exists, and it was the perfect ending. And I don't know where it's gone, but if you find it, send it to me. It involves all the major players from back in the day. There may have even been a wedding. Go ahead and find it. And then we do the Triple Cage match.
Should have a Triple Cage match as the end of pro wrestling.
It should be it. I don't know why we're not doing it.
Do you think Dynamite should go to triple hours?
Never. No. There were people leaving, and it was not fun watching people leave during.
Were there people leaving?
Oh yes, and there are multiple reasons for that. So I will say, like, one is Rampage had 2 matches announced, and maybe some people weren't super clued in for the main event, and maybe it's just not their cup of tea. Sure, that's fine. There's another thing, and that is transportation. A lot of people were coming from outside of Toronto and taking public transit, and those transits usually close by 11 o'clock, maybe midnight, depending on where you're going from. So people were leaving early because either had a long drive, had a long commute, and they couldn't stay for the whole thing. That's the one problem that persists. And it's not AEW specific, but it's like if you go to a show that's running late, you can only stick around for so long before your ride goes, and then you're stuck in town for the night. So I had a few people that were near me that were like getting up to leave, and they're like, yeah, we can't stay. We got to go back to Lindsay, Ontario, or Scarborough or Mississauga. And like, those are fairly decent drives away. So you had to get home in time, which I understood. It's just the nature of running a major city right downtown on the waterfront.
I mean, I assume, people probably do. Caden says people always leave during Rampage. Like, I believe that. I just figured for a live Rampage, they kind of stick around a little bit.
And they were pushing that. It wasn't like people didn't know that they were doing Rampage live. They said it multiple times to the crowd. Tony Khan comes out, says we're doing Rampage live. You got people during the breaks. You had Justin Roberts saying, by the way, Rampage is live. It was not unknown that Rampage was going to be live 3 hours. They made a big deal out of it. So it was just more people couldn't stick around, or some of them may just decided, you know what, this wasn't for me. I'm wrestled out. I saw my people, and I'm good. They missed the Shibata match, but that's that.
The Rampage card was what it was too. It's not like it was bad or anything. Like, yeah, Shibata in action typically means a squash match, and that's exactly what it was. They did the tag team match, which, I mean, if you want to see Orange Cassidy, okay. And then the street fight, the women's street fight, which I think people should have stuck around for. And I think that was a big match. But, and maybe they thought there was going to be a Mercedes appearance on that. But then, of course, you'd already seen Mercedes open the show. So if you wanted to see her, I don't think anyone thought she was going to get like physical at the end of the show. But there may have been like an inkling that like maybe she would show up at the end.
I think some people were also expecting her to show up and get involved in the street fight finish. Even me, for a minute, I was like, oh, are they going to try and keep people around for the 3 hours by teasing her coming out or not? And they kind of didn't when they did the backstage thing with Chris Stat and Willow and Stokely. But then they didn't really follow through with it. Which again, they didn't have to. I think they just kind of left it on the table as like, maybe if you stick around, you'll find out if she comes out. And then she didn't, and that was that. She stayed till the end of the night, though.
Have they fumbled the bag already with Mercedes Moné?
It's a very big bag. It's easy to fumble. There's a lot of dollars in there. I don't know if you can hold that much money in a single bag. It doesn't bother me that they're going low and slow with her. It doesn't bother me that she came out first. I thought I turned to Chris that I was sitting with, and I said, they're getting that. Stop it. You got to stop it. Please stop. The squeaking of the chair is the worst part to me. Oh, you got it? Yeah, okay. I was hoping the internet was actually going to go out. Anyway, I do like the idea that she comes out, she gets the Big Bang lead in, and she does her promo. And the promo's fine. It's nothing like incredibly amazing, but she went out there, she did what she usually does, and they set up the main event for Rampage with it. They had the Spooky Swins come out, do their thing. They teased the dissension, at least between Mercedes and then Kristad and Willow, and they got you thinking. But other than that, there's a lot of time before now and Mercedes' first match, because it feels like they're going to do the first match at Dynasty. If they don't do a tag match, then she'll do a singles, but I don't know what that singles match is yet. I did see that New Japan tweeted out that at Resurgence, the strong titles, all of them will be on the line, including strong tag team, strong open weight, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and the strong women's title. That feels like the Mercedes match for May 11th.
I don't know if I would have her win that title.
What other title is she going to win right now? Because she's not factored into the Women's World Championship. She could be after Dynasty. But also, I don't think her winning the TBS Championship is the answer either, because...
Why does she got to win a title immediately?
That's also a good point. Does she have to? I mean, if it's just like Okada coming in.
If Bryan Danielson can't be a champion, then I don't think anybody should be a champion.
Fair, but Okada comes in, wins a championship. Will Ospreay probably by end of summer, probably going to win a championship. Mercedes Moné, it's one of those things where if you're going to elevate the division, they have to have a representative, and sometimes that is the champion. I do not think that the TBS title is the one she should hold, because we've sat here and talked about how that is a perfect elevation title for other women on the card. Does Mercedes elevate? Yes, but I'd rather her elevate in a women's world championship position to get to a main event of a pay-per-view. That being said, her versus either Willow or Stephanie Vacher makes sense for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Willow would have to capture that title first, and then they basically replay the last time these two met in May at a New Japan event, hopefully with the proper ending they had planned. But Resurgence being in Ontario at the Toyota Arena, like that is the color scheme, the everything was just shouting, this is her return to New Japan Pro Wrestling for Mercedes Moné.
I guess my issue is just that I don't need more titles in AEW to just, okay, you come out with a New Japan Strong Women's title. Okay. Does this thing matter? Like, Willow had it. They didn't make a big deal out of it. Eddie Kingston's the Strong Men's Champion. That's not really a big deal on AEW television. Like, it just doesn't feel like it's if you're talking about from an AEW perspective, winning this title doesn't actually do anything. It's like, okay, cool. You have this title. All right. You're just coming out wearing this title. Sure.
What if she doesn't even come out wearing the title when she wins?
I mean, she might not, honestly. Like, she might not. Like, I just wouldn't introduce more titles to the television audience. I don't think just because you have a title means anything. I'd rather her be the TBS champion. I'd rather her just be the world champion, the women's world champion, or the AEW world champion. Have her beat Samoa Joe, whatever. I'd rather that be the case than like, hey, you're going to get this New Japan Strong Women's title that was originally earmarked for you, but plans changed and unfortunately you got injured, but here you go. We'll give this back to you. You know, it was a different time period last year. She wasn't signed to AEW when she was going to win that title last year. She was going to continue to compete in New Japan. So that's why she was going to win the title, to try to elevate New Japan. Well, you can elevate companies. Now I sound like Bryan Danielson. You can elevate the company without having that championship.
Just by
not an AEW. I do think she should have an AEW title. I do think that's helpful.
Okay.
But having a New Japan Strong title, that doesn't do anything for AEW.
It doesn't. However, they made that stupid title for her. And now they have to live with it. And there are other women who can easily come in and continue to have great matches and show off with that title. But like, it feels like they got to get back to Mercedes somehow. It just feels like it because they made it for her. You have to assume there was some sort of plan that they want to execute, come back to in New Japan.
I mean, maybe it feels like the plan might have just been She wins that title. She faces somebody at Forbidden Door. She defends the title at Forbidden Door. I don't think it was going to be a champion versus champion match.
You can lose it at Forbidden Door. You can have her face someone coming in who's more New Japan based than AEW based and have her drop the title there. She has a 1 month run. It's good enough. At the same time, the New Japan Strong Women's Championship felt like it was being made to give to Mercedes to elevate a US brand that they were trying to rebuild. And now looks like they want to do it again. I mean, Windy City Riot is the first chapter of that in the rebuilding of New Japan Strong. And then Resurgence is the next chapter. And that's, a month later because they're coming to California and they're already promoting all these titles are going to be on the line, but they're putting emphasis on the strong titles and the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, which of course is going to happen. But it feels like they're really trying. And that's what Mercedes as Strong Women's Champion was supposed to do, is rebuild the strong brand for New Japan.
Yes, well, now things are different in that she's signed to AEW, and so she can help rebuild the strong brand by being on the shows, but not having the title. Because I think having the title, but being on AEW television actually does less for that title. Last year, when she was going to win it, she was still part of New Japan. And so she was going to be on the New Japan show. So having the title meant something because she was going to continue to defend it on New Japan shows, Stardom shows, whatever it might be. Now she's on AEW. So people are just going to see her on AEW and she might not even have that championship around her waist. And if she does, people are going to be like, what is this? Why are we doing more titles? She could just be on the shows, exist on the shows without having a championship. The time has passed.
Yeah, she could, but also I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to it. I just wouldn't be surprised. But I see your point. I don't necessarily disagree with it, but I also understand why they might want to go back to it so that they can continue building what she wants to build. Because again, she keeps mentioning the global women's revolution, and that includes bringing in New Japan. That includes bringing in CMLL. That includes basically all of these new partnerships that AEW has started. She wants to start bringing the women into that as well. And so if she does, great. That's cool. You'll get more emphasis on female talent coming in through these other companies that do not have as large a North American following as Mercedes and AEW compared to, say, a New Japan Strong or even New Japan in general and a CMLL. That's where it makes sense. Does she need a title for that? Maybe not, but more Mexican fans might, if she wins a CMLL title, flock over to an AEW show and so on and so forth. That could be part of the thought process. Whether or not that actually works in execution, that's another can of worms altogether.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think introducing more titles to AEW is going to be this thing of, hey, now we're going to watch this show because Mercedes is holding this title. I think it's more of a turnoff for current fans, or more of a turnoff if you are trying to jump in. And it's like, hey, here's another person with another title.
Bring back the AAA Intergender Tag Team Championships. Remember that?
Mercedes and Okada.
Mercedes and Okada. There you go. Let's do it. See, I just got it. I just picked it out for y'all. Bring it up.
They should abolish the trios titles.
They should just combine them, and then Jay White brings them to a smushing machine. You know those hydraulic presses? Puts all three of them on a hydraulic press and says, "Watch this, boys!" And he does and it's Juice who gets to push the giant button. Juice is just in the background of all these things, and you're not supposed to notice him, but he's doing the most important part. Flipping the burgers, pressing the hydraulic press. He's doing all the things, and he presses down those titles. They make it into one title, and it's known as the AEW Who Gives a Shit title.
I like Jay White's promo. I did not care for the Acclaimed's promo.
Oh, that... Okay. So yes, I also thought that the Jay White promo, maybe it was just because we just watched the Adam Copeland win and like it was very emotional and high. So like it was kind of hard to pay attention to it for me, at least in the audience.
Fair.
And also it's being played on the big screen. And like at one
The
point,
audio can be a little off on those, even on the best of days.
yeah, at one point the audio kind of gave out, which was really strange. It's like they lost the arena speakers and they had only the speakers pumping from the stage that were carrying most of the audio. Something weird happened around the Samoa Joe promo. Anyway, the segment that they did with Jay White and the Bang Bang Gang, it was good. Like I went back on socials and I rewatched that. But then the Acclaim promo, this was the other side of it. They had to kill so much time, and I feel a little bad for them. As over the Acclaimed as I am, as just a group, they were trying to get the leaf blowers and trying to get all the confetti out of the ring. They were trying to do everything so that they could keep to the Rampage tapings. And that's the hard part, is that when you're going live like that for a third hour, you can't just kill time. You can't just have a lull period. They had to keep going. So they did the promo. It wasn't very good. It is what it is.
Yeah, I know they were trying to like clean up the ring and everything. And the Jay White promo, that was fine. I mean, King Potato says Claim promo, especially Max Caster yapping about nothing, was dog shit. Like
I think they just saw that the guys needed more time down at the ring and they said, keep going, like just stretch it out. And you need to have a plan when that happens.
I didn't even care too much for Bowen's part of it. And I like Anthony Bowens, but the whole, you should have signed elsewhere. You should have listened to everybody who told you to sign elsewhere. What have you done? You have failed. You have lost to a person with one leg, and you're just a giant old failure. Like, all right, sure.
Just
Material just
loser.
wasn't the best.
No, and that was the thing. They needed to be better prepared for that.
Just, I don't need people talking about, hey, you shouldn't have signed here because here you're just a giant old failure. Like, is that his fault?
Just bring TK out and be like, TK, this conversation's for you now. You need to book my guy Jay White better. And then TK is just like, wait a minute, why am I here? Cup of coffee in his hand. All right, I can do that. Let's fucking go. Anyway, it wasn't my favorite promo, that's for sure. I understood why it was what it was, but it was just a very strange, way too long promo, especially when they kicked out Renee, because she at least could have followed up and tried to get more questions out or do something that would have engaged the conversation better than those two just trying.
Yeah. Sad for the Acclaim. Sad for Anthony Bowens.
Anyway. Very awkward too, because it was like, ladies and gentlemen, the Acclaimed, and it was like they grabbed the mic and she just like and just walked away. They did very little with Renee in front of the crowds on Dynamite, which was surprising. I thought they'd at least do maybe something in the ring with her, let her do the Osprey moment instead of Tony Schiavone. It was very, very strange to me that they didn't utilize her more in front of the crowd. Even with the Kingston segment, we had no idea she was there unless you were down in that area and could see her, and it wasn't live to the crowd. Her saying the sideline report, basically, we didn't hear that.
Wish they would have touched on. Maybe they did. I just wasn't paying enough attention. That's my fault. But the alliance to end the Undisputed Kingdom, and then they never ended the Undisputed Kingdom. Here's what we need, Joel. Let's bring it all back around. Yes, MJF returns, and we get the Doomsday Cage match. MJF running through the Acclaimed, running through Bullet Club Gold, running through Undisputed Kingdom by himself. MJF. That's the big return.
I'm fine with that, and that is the most MJF thing that they would do. MJF would be like, I've been at home watching late 80s, early 90s WCW. I have an idea. And then Adam Cole's like, guys, we did a watch along on my Twitch stream, 1999, 2000s WCW, and I have an idea. And they fight it out in the first ever sextuple cage match. We're going to go all the way, baby.
Did you, Adam Cole, story time? Wardlow is now just protecting all the titles.
That was so bad. I said this on the post show when I went with Sean and Alex. I said at one point, you may have heard Adam Cole mention Roderick Strong's name, and you may have heard a big crowd cheer. That wasn't for Roderick Strong. That cheer was actually Hook standing at the top of the ramp, holding up his FTW championship because he won, and the crowd was excited for that. They were not paying attention to that promo. Promo was they're really dragging their heels in hopes that MJF is back sooner than later, and it sucks because that was the A feud coming out of 2023, for better or worse. We've talked about it for so long, and it's so frustrating that they are stuck having to wait out the two major people in this storyline. Their injuries need to basically heal up so that they can actually do something with the story as planned. There's no pivot, and that's the most frustrating part. The pivot is, yeah, Wardlow, LOL, you suck, but now you still got to do the job. By the way, the job is you protecting us because you were brought in as the protector. And that's that.
It needs to happen, Joel. Shove that kid, in this case Adam Cole, right off the cliff.
I'm fine with it. I think we should do it. Why aren't we doing it? Let's do it.
It's to happen.
Triple cages with shark pools. I don't hate it.
I love it.
That too.
Absolutely love it.
Anyway, there was some there was a lot of really, really fun stuff on Dynamite and Rampage. There was a lot of really intriguing stuff in terms of why did you do that here? But otherwise, again, I said this elsewhere, the Ospreay entrance. That man is so good at hitting his marks and knowing exactly where everything in his presentation needs to be. And I'm a big fan of the way that they are presenting Will Ospreay, because they brought him in, gave him 2 banger matches, and then the second everyone said, but can he cut promos every week? They said, let's try it. And guess what? It's working. He's doing quite well doing the babyface Ospreay stuff, entertaining stuff, and I enjoy that they're moving towards another big match, and they're doing it by not only doing promos, but also saying, hey, these guys can wrestle. And then when they wrestle each other, they will have wrestled the same people. And now you pull out your scorecards at that point. This is good stuff. Ospreay was really fun on Wednesday night.
I did like Thunder Rosa pinning Toni Storm. Thunder Rosa should be going back after a title she never lost. I did enjoy that. Yeah, Deanna gave her a little side eye on that one. Like, what are you doing taking this pinfall?
That was expected. I didn't know if you had anything else to add about Ospreay before we go back to Rosa and the women's division.
No, Ospreay's good. He's really good.
I'm looking forward to. Would you do a triple threat with Deanna and Rosa against Toni Storm, or would you do one-on-one Rosa and Storm at Dynasty?
I would do one-on-one.
I typically would as well. I want to know. I guess then you do Deanna versus Rosa, #1 contendership, unofficial or official. And then you have Rosa get the win. When do we finally make her a part of LFI? Because Rosa's sitting there doing the thing every week.
LFI is not a thing right now.
I know, but eventually you got to do something with it. She can't come out here and keep raising her fist in the air like she's part of the group without being a part of the group.
I mean, Roosh has been cleared, he said, for like a month now, and he ain't back on TV. Like, there's not a thing. So I'm not going to pretend that they're a thing.
You got to let it play out, Jeremy.
I mean, I'm waiting. We'll see.
Just got to do it. But anyway, we'll see what they do with it. Regardless, the tag match was fine. A little shocked to see Toni eat the pin, but it makes sense again going to Rosa trying for the AEW Women's Championship. I'm ready. I'm almost ready for a new women's champion. I'm almost there. But they got to tell me a good story to get there first.
The story is the champion loses.
Well, thank you for that. I'm not expecting like some big long whatever. Like again, the Mariah May stuff and Toni Storm, it feels like we're trying to culminate there, but do you need a championship for that as well? I would argue you don't, but tell me, in that case, you got to tell me you got to tell me a story, which we're in the process of doing. I'm not saying there is none. I'm saying that there is a turn where if you don't do the championship, Mariah May is the reason for that, and then we get to that matchup however we get there. The All About Eve stuff, yada yada yada.
Yeah, it does seem like you got to set up a Toni and Mariah feud coming out of all of this. And Tony may still need to be the champion for that. I don't know if she does need to be the champion for that, though. I think she can lose the title, move on, and then they can still do a singles feud with them without a championship. And then whoever the champion is, whether it's Diana, whether it's Thunder Rosa, or whether it's Mercedes Moné, then you got a championship feud as well.
When does Mercedes get that Women's World Championship match?
All in. I just assume all in for all of this stuff.
I know that's the problem, is that we're all in on All In. Is that but then we got to All In last year, and you were like, no, this is a love letter to pro wrestling. This isn't titles change hands.
This year is different.
Is it for like that's how you're feeling? Is this year it's like a pay-per-view? It is part of the long term of AEW storytelling.
I mean, it should be. I think All In should be the finale, in the sense that like WrestleMania is the finale. I know that's not like fully. WrestleMania is not like fully the finale, but like I think it should be. I think this should be where you like cap things off. And All In felt like that in some ways last year, but it also did feel like it was just it's a tribute to the first All In type of thing. Where now it shouldn't be like that. It should be, this is where you're capping off a lot of stories.
Yeah, no, and I agree, because if this is going to be the largest crowd you get all year, this should be your number one show. This should be your biggest possible card, your biggest possible show, and your reset. And that's fine. At the same time, Tony's kind of been like, oh, maybe Revolution is our reset, or maybe Double or Nothing is a reset. There have been multiple times where he's like, well, now it's going to reset, and now we're going to redo this or that. This is the opportunity with All In to actually make that officially the time.
This is a whole different conversation, probably a longer conversation than we might have time for today. But I said this a while ago, and some people got mad at me for it. Like, if AEW is going to add more pay-per-views, you got to establish kind of your bigger pay-per-views. And that's not to diminish the other ones. But if you are telling me that this show All In front of 80,000 people is on the same level as Dynasty in front of 10,000 people, then I'm like, all right, why should I care as much about this one? It happens naturally, by the way, because they do tell you this stuff. If you're holding this show in front of 80,000 people, you are telling me it is on a different level. But then you can't say, hey, come out to this show. It's going to be the greatest pay-per-view of all time. It's going to be just as big as All In. Like, no, it's not. Like, the card might be really good, but it's not on that level. You can't treat them all the same. WWE has this down. And look, WWE has a long head start on this too. There's no denying that. But WrestleMania is the big show. The card might not be the greatest thing in the world, but you know that this is the big time show out there. And they've established the Rumble as a big show. They've established SummerSlam as a big show. And they establish it by doing these shows in major arenas compared to major stadiums compared to arenas for a lot of these other shows. That's how they establish it, as being a little bit bigger, being on a different level. And they've done that for years. And, now it's changed a little bit because they're going overseas for a lot of these shows, and they might be running some of them in arenas. So it has changed, but like, they've already established kind of what the hierarchy is for some of this stuff. I would like AEW to do a little bit of the same thing, instead of telling me, hey, all of these shows are great.
Yeah, before anyone, and I'm not saying chat's doing this, but anyone who's watching after the fact wants to like jump down our throats about, oh, it's AEW, WWE, they're not the same. In this case, there is a point to the similarities of having pay-per-views that tentpole your year. And that's what WWE did forever. But we're talking pre-network, because this is the big difference right now. AEW is still on traditional pay-per-view and streaming, whereas WWE is effectively part of a streaming package that you purchase monthly. You pay the same amount. But let's take that out of the equation. The way it used to be was, you want WrestleMania, $65 in 2010. You want Unforgiven, Sean Ross Sapp shows up.
I'm here. I made it. I saved the show.
Hello, Sean. How are you? Where are you? Are you just like in your house, just on your phone?
Yeah, I haven't made it up to my office yet. I'm still making, I guess, what's technically breakfast, but I don't usually eat till noon unless I'm doing your show. So,
can we get a kitchen tour?
A what?
A kitchen tour?
Kitchen door?
Kitchen tour.
That's what Joel hits his kitchen.
No, absolutely not. It's
Right.
I'm in the middle of doing some spring cleaning right now, actually, but there we go. Look, you can see some nice little magnets and my mail.
You can see Kentucky logo. They had a great showing.
They did. They had a great showing. It's very funny when I see people trying to justify to me, oh, they make NBA players. That was fun 14 years ago. That was really fun 14 years ago. Where are the eggs? Hold on, Kate. You got to be picky. There they are. But yeah, it was great making NBA players 14 years ago. That's awesome. You know what I also liked? Banners. Cool banners.
Yeah, that's right.
That would sit up there. They have one NCAA title or one NCAA tournament win
in like
5 years. 5 years. The first 6 years don't make up for the last 9.
It's been a rough going.
They all have people. I don't care that you don't care. This is therapy.
No, I'm saying I don't care that much about like college basketball. Like I respect that you want to come on here and talk about Kentucky. I appreciate it.
It makes me mad, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Makes me mad. I can't even be mad at this point. Like, how could I be mad over something like that? There's my cat, by the way. Like, how can I even be mad over something like that at this point? Like, can't even be mad. But not me. Not mad. Not really.
Do not report Sean Ross Sapp is mad online. Please do not put that in the papers.
Anyway, I probably need to go to real therapy now or something. See you guys later.
Hi, Sean.
Well, we have a therapy sponsor on the main channel, so there you go.
All right.
Go find yourself a therapist. A lot of y'all can benefit from that, myself included, and I do. My point that I was trying to make before we were so interrupted. Graciously interrupted. Let's go with that word. Yeah, before Sean showed up was the idea, and Sean Lindsay pointed out in the chat, it's WrestleMania would cost more than Backlash, and it would cost SummerSlam would cost more than Unforgiven, and that is kind of the point of Jeremy's argument, if you don't mind me taking your point and using it here, is that if you're going to make a hierarchy of pay-per-views, then the cost also has to come into it. Dynasty should be a $25 pay-per-view, whereas All In becomes your $50 pay-per-view, whatever your prices are. TNA does the same thing right now. You know, for all the flack you give TNA, at least
they have too many shows.
That's right.
Knock it off.
Their service at least allows for you to pick and choose. Your pay-per-views are $30 and there's 4 of them per year. And your specials are $5, part of your monthly package that already includes the weekly television shows as well. So there's a hierarchy. You don't expect huge things to happen at Against All Odds, but you do expect big moments to happen at Rebellion or Slammiversary or Bound for Glory. And Bound for Glory is their big show. So why not let All In be the big show for AEW? And then we got to deal with All Out. That's the whole other can of worms, where if All Out's going to be literally the next week, at that point, just make it a Dynamite special. Bring it to Chicago every Wednesday after All Out or after All In, becomes the All Out special. Something. I get it. I understand, but just because you're so obsessed with doing Labor Day and big long weekends at the cost of doing a big stadium show and then doing All Out a week later and not having a card for it, having nothing to show for it other than what you set up maybe a week before All In and then the week of All Out, that's really painful. Like, that's hard to, if you're someone who wants to go to the show, eventually that has diminishing returns. Like, you got to figure out what those timelines look like when you get deep into the summer and into the beginning of the fall.
Anyway, who cares about wrestling? Kate says, literally nobody cared about hockey, and you talk about it. 1, incorrect. There are plenty of people in the chat who care about hockey. 2, Sean Ross Sapp cut me off because I was saying I don't care about college basketball, but I love the tournament, and I don't follow college basketball throughout the year, but I love the tournament, and I respect that Sean does care and wanted to talk about Kentucky. That's why I brought it up when I saw the magnet, because this is an outlet to vent when our teams do not do well.
Shout out to the Anaheim Ducks who beat the Blackhawks 4-0 last night. Do not ask me about the Ottawa Senators.
Why is Professor saying name all the players on your favorite hockey team? Like, can you do this, Joel?
No, what are you talking about? Like in 2007, yeah. But
first line, Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Arturi Lehkonen. Second line, Casey Middlestead, Jonathan Drouin. And then they kind of switch out players every now and again. But let's go Valerie Nichushkin is kind of our second line. Lehkonen and Nichushkin might swap out a little bit. You know, things happen. Third line, the bottom six gets a little iffy. But I'll name 6 players because these guys are always in and out. Logan O'Connor, Trevor Trennanen, they just traded for him. Josh Dunahem, they just traded for him as well. Andrew Cogliano, Nikolai Kovalenko.
Former Anaheim Ducks Iron Man, Andrew Cogliano, by the way.
Andrew Cogliano actually rules. He does.
He does. Great guy.
He absolutely does. I like Andrew Cogliano. And we'll Chris Wagner as the 6. Again, a lot of in and out with those guys. Zach Parise as well. He's there. He's back. Defense. The great Cale Makar. Devon Teus. This is riveting radio, by the way. Josh Manson. Sam Girard. Sean Walker just traded for him. And Jack Johnson. Goaltending, Justus Anunin and Alexander Grigoriev. There you go. I named the entire lineup. Head coach, Jared Bednar.
But did you
Video
watch?
coach, Ray Bennett.
What the? What?
General manager, Chris McFarland.
Well, that one's not so much of a thing. But hold on. Did you watch the Bruins? Did you watch the Celine Dion at the Bruins game? First of all, people should be upset about that because Celine Dion is from Montreal. She's a big Habs fan. What are we doing here? Second of all, that woman is okay. It's a neurological disorder. I get it. But like, we haven't seen her in years. And suddenly she shows up and she's playing air bass at the game and she's doing the lineup back with the team. Where did Celine Dion come from? I'm glad she's okay. Did you see the video?
No.
It's great though. She's wonderful.
The Slammies are back, Joel.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. Ryan Lambert sent a super chat saying for hockey, women, and Jeremy's sultry CEO dance. Stop giving him money for CEO dances. And Caden said, shout out to Alex Coughlin. Just hope he's okay. Alex Coughlin was an early guest of ours on this program.
He's going to beat you up for calling him Coughlin.
Well, maybe he shouldn't spell his name that way, but I hope he's okay. And if he wants to beat me up because of the name spelling thing, then I have bigger fish to fry. Smackdown is tonight.
The Slammies are back, Joel.
When did we start? When did this happen?
It was just announced.
That sounds awful. Why are we doing this?
It is going to air on Sunday, April 7th from WWE World at WrestleMania.
The Slammies are an end of year event. It's a December thing.
This is they're doing the voting now. I guess from Mania to Mania.
Listen,
WrestleMania is the finale, so here you go.
This is their PWI 500. By the way, Kathy Kelly and Big E will be hosting, so that I am okay with. A big fan of that. Big E on my screen is always good news. Slammies are back, ladies and gentlemen. We broke the news here first. Not on Twitter. Don't pay attention to Twitter. Roman Reigns goes face to face with Cody Rhodes on SmackDown. Will this devolve into a brawl, or will they actually respectfully discourse? Jeremy Lambert.
So Cody's going to come out and he's going to cry and he's going to be like, oh, I guess the bloodline's banned from this. He's going to be like, where's your cousin? Huh? You're finally standing alone. You don't need the bloodline finally. Is this how it's going to be at WrestleMania? Can you stand here like a man at WrestleMania? Or are you going to need your cousin, your wise man, and your enforcer, and your other cousin, your other one, your other one, your other one? I finally see you face to face. I could see the fear in your eyes, and I'm going to take that title from you. I'm going to take everything from you at WrestleMania 40 at night 1, night 2, night 3. I'm going to take it all, and you're going to crumble, and I'm going to watch the Roman Empire crumble right in front of me. And the Roman, he's going to be like,
but see, Cody, he's an idiot.
And that's it. He's going to call him an idiot. And that's going to be it.
Will they hit their marks this week? 9:58, 59?
Yeah, these guys are professionals, unlike Dwayne.
That's fair. And no bloodline interference? They're going to respect that, you think?
Probably not.
Rey Mysterio looks for payback against Santos Escobar. You want some interference? How about that match? It'll be full of LWO appearances. I'm sure of it.
It won't. They're banned from ringside.
Is anyone truly banned from anywhere?
I mean, that's the stipulation.
There are lots of stipulations. People still show up. You just put them in a black hoodie and they show up at ringside.
Well, the LWO and Legado are banned from ringside.
We'll see about that. The OC, they take on Grayson Waller and Austin Theory to get in that ladder match, I assume. Or is it just a regular tag title match? No. This is to go to the Mania thing, right?
No, it's like a tournament. For some reason on Raw, you just got to win one match and you get into the ladder match. But on SmackDown, you got to win 2 matches to get into the ladder match.
This is so stupid.
So the OC faces Waller and Theory, and the winner of that faces the winner of Street Profits and the TikTokers.
That's weird. I don't know
That's
what
how
to
it
say.
works.
That's weird. Street Profits and the Street Profits battle AOP. They're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
For a chance to maybe go to WrestleMania in the tournament that crowns the 6-man tag into the thing of the ladder match at WrestleMania for the titles.
It feels like Street Profits should be in the ladder match, so we'll just go with them.
I would like that very much. And then it feels like Waller and Theory are going to go into the next round of whatever tournament this is.
Sure.
Good for us. We did it. We made it to the end. Jeremy, do we have anything else to plug today? Rob and Maggie are live at 3.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Is there any wrestling this weekend?
No, thank God. Oh, I love it. No Collision. Watch the NCAA tournament, everybody. That's what I'll be doing.
I will be taking it easy this weekend for a change. I need this. I need this after the weeks I've been having. So I'm going to not watch wrestling. I'm going to just sit and relax and enjoy it. Wrestling Made Me Cry is going to be live on Sunday, right?
Sunday at 12.
Sunday at noon. Go check Auntie Collins and Kylie. They're going to talk about wrestling. Of course they are. And we are going to be back on Monday. Should we tell them who we have tentatively scheduled?
Sure, go for it. I got to make my NCAA bets.
Akira is tentatively scheduled to join us at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, talking about MLW War Chamber as well. Looking forward to that. Thank you again to Tim Thatcher and MLW for having that chat with us this morning. We're going to be back on Monday. Jeremy Lambert's going to do some sports betting. I am not, but I will tell you I am at Joel Pearl, JOELP.
I bet 30 cents on this parlay to try to win $500 and quit this show.
God bless, ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary. We'll see you after the weekend.